Are you ready for a health transformation? Well, I'm going to give you the crucial tip. It's commandment number 4 of being fully alive today on the podcast. Hit the music, Stevie. This is Justin Westmoreland, and you're listening to the Fully Alive podcast, where we integrate physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual relational health so that we can become a fully alive community together. Welcome back. This is episode 15 in the Fully Alive podcast. Now, with me today is Connolly Lambert, my good friend here. Thank you for being on the show, Connolly.
Glad to be here.
It's a great joy. Connolly's a good guy. Student at OU, member of the church. Love having you with us today. Today, Justin Westmoreland, your host, I'm going to be talking about rest and the 4th commandment of being fully alive, which is the need for rest. Resting. It's good for your body, it's good for your mind, it's good for your relationships, and it's good for your soul. So as we're thinking about this, we just saw, if you saw the last episode, we saw one story of transformation. Robbie, if you need inspiration, if you need help getting going, go download that episode. Go watch that episode because it is inspiring to hear Robbie's story. And what Robbie and I both learned is that, you know, after having an amazing transformation and then continuing to train, what you don't realize is you're gonna have to rest. You're going to have to grow your body and heal with rest. You cannot burn the candle at both ends all the time, right, Connolly? So there's a Neil Young quote that says, "We'd rather burn out than fade away," right?
Yeah.
There's this sort of youth and like this mindset of I can just keep going and going and going, and then when we get into our careers, we just feel like we can just keep going and going and going, and it's just like there's this. We idolize, I think, in our world, the overworking, the workaholic. We don't think about longevity and overtime health versus the really impressive spurts. You know, or we don't realize, hey, that we're going to lose if we don't pace ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
So let me throw some names at you: Cal Ripken Jr. or Babe Ruth. Who would you rather be?
I'd be Babe Ruth.
Yeah. Why so?
He was just
The home run hitter.
yeah. He could hit home runs.
Yeah,
He was
home
the
run
greatest.
Yeah. You know, but Cal Ripken Jr. What did he do? You remember?
I don't remember that much about Cal Ripken.
He had over 2,000 straight games. He started and finished.
Oh.
He was every day at the ballpark. You know, baseball is a sport where you got 162 games in a season. That's incredible. NFL's got 16, NBA 82, I believe it is. Hockey, something like that. But Major League Baseball, it's a grind. I mean, you're playing 9 innings a night.
Back-to-back nights.
Over and over. You don't get a week off. It's every day to the ballpark. 162 games a year, and he did that over a decade or more, just grinding 162 games a year. And so that's not as sexy or as provocatively exciting as 700 home runs, where he just like destroys the ball, the baseball, and then think about this, marathon runner or Usain Bolt. Who would you rather be? Usain Bolt,
gets all the glory.
Yeah, that 10 seconds and under, and he's the fastest man on the planet versus the grind of the 26 mile, 26 mile or the ultra marathon. Now, I'm going to give you an example. I think we bring it all together here. Tom Brady. There's no one like this guy. He's a quarterback, but he's got the longevity and he's got the accomplishments to match it too. And season after season too, so he's got a lot of. I think he's a great example, and he is really big on taking care of his body, recovery, and things like that. You can look up his sort of routine and philosophy and stuff like that.
It's funny. I was actually watching a video on Kurt Warner and the early 2000s Rams, and I was like, I forgot. At his last Super Bowl win, I don't think it was even Tom Brady's first Super Bowl win, but he was defeated by Tom Brady, I think, in 2004.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it's like then his career just kind of took a nosedive, and he was around. And I mean,
Yeah.
he's around the same. He's not that much
Same
older
age.
than he's around the same age as Tom Brady,
Yeah.
and he's been out of the NFL for
Quite some time.
a while.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady just won another
Right.
Super Bowl.
He won't go away.
Yeah.
And you know, I saw the other day he's got probably a few more years left in him. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Bill Belichick and those guys are saying, hey, he's going to be their quarterback for the foreseeable
Yeah.
future. So he's only getting better.
Yeah, it's like him and LeBron are just the two
Yeah.
like ultimate athletes in terms of taking care of their bodies.
That's a good one. LeBron James is another example. Although he's had some chinks in his armor this year. Although
Yeah.
before this it was unprecedented. He had no injuries over this long career.
Yeah.
And now he's on the Lakers and they stink. And
Yeah.
he had a bad year finally. But no, I think he'll rebound. Thinking about Tom Brady and what he's been able to accomplish, and LeBron as well, and also Cal Ripken Jr. Unheard of. Okay, so all right, so we just watched the Avengers. That was awesome.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, we won't spoil it for you. But it's been an exciting week. I tell you what, I have like the greatest job in the world. Okay, so I'm a pastor. I get to see spiritual transformation. I'm an ordained minister. I get to see families change, students change. Our church is developing and from scratch. It's awesome. And I get to get in the gym. I just got in the gym today with a man this morning, and over the last 11 weeks, he has gone from being able to do 0 pull-ups to 7 pull-ups in a row. I mean, he's killing. He's getting strong. His everything is getting better now, and that was my story too. Is I got in the gym and I started getting healthy and physically, and that led to spiritual, mental, and relational health. And there is an integration that comes with it. So if you want to hit one of those areas, it can often, would you say, help the other angles come up? Relationships get better. If you're working on your mental game, your physical and your spiritual can come together too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I came in my freshman year in college. I had never really worked out before, but I started getting involved with Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah.
Some friends there would go to the Huff, the fitness center, and work out with me.
Right.
And I learned how to actually exercise, become stronger, and that helped me in turn actually get in better shape in terms of cardio too. Because when you just have no muscle tone and you're just not very strong, it's also hard to run.
It is.
And it was so much easier for me to get in shape after that. And
Big time.
it hasn't completely made my life perfect, but I've definitely experienced a lot more just kind of contentness.
Right. Because you got the physical
Everyday
component happening, and that's going to give you more energy for the studying. You feel like you've only got so much energy, what am I going to, and time, and how am I going to get that? I mean, you're on a team, and so there's a lot of practice involved with that, travel and stuff like that. So, hey, if you got questions about how to stay healthy in college, just post them below. We'll field those. Love to interact with you guys. And also, you can email us at fullylivepodcast@gmail.com. But definitely comment below and let us know what you have questions with as far as college. Now, today we're going to look at how you do the scheduling. How do you keep up with the classes and the sleep and the sports and the friendships and just you got so much time in the day. And how do you treat your body well so that you don't burn out? So that you can have that longevity and thrive and really feel alive and feel like you're having a great time. So we're gonna look at that. So let me give you a parable real quick. Okay, so here's a parable. I love parables. I love stories, right? Don't you love stories? Okay, so here's a parable. So you got a king, and he encounters an obstacle in the road. He's driving his carriage, and he gets to the point where there's a massive tree that's fallen down across the path, and he can't get to his castle. So what's he gonna do? Well, here's the thing. You guys, it's when you think about spiritual people or faith people, we're going to look at there's 4 options for how this king could get through this obstacle. First is he's going to just muscle the tree out of the road by himself, entirely on his own effort. Okay, this is be sort of like, hey, we're all left here. God created this world, but we're all left here to just kind of make our own way, pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. It's all on our shoulders, and that's exhausting. Who can pull these obstacles out of the road? So that's number 1. Number 2, you got a lot of Christians out there or spiritual people who will be like, okay, well, I'm just going to pray about it. And I'm just going to let God do it. Okay, I'm going to turn it over. So what would that be in the story? What do you think?
Well, that made me think of the other story. You know the story of the guy who it's like there's the flood and he keeps praying that God will give him a way out, and God keeps like providing like like
Oh,
someone
tons
tells
of
him the
options.
flood's
Yeah.
coming. There's a boat and
Yeah.
then there's a helicopter. He's like, no, God will save me. It's
Yes.
like,
And he's like, all the time, there's the way out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so the idea here is like, oh, I'm just going to wait and God's going to move the thing for me. You know what? All the while he's providing, construction crews or something like that. So
Yeah.
like all these obstacles.
Yeah.
I mean, all these obstacle overcomers. So the idea of let go, let God do it. I'm just going to let God move the thing. I'm not going to do anything. Okay. The other one, and this is a very common one in our world, is that okay, God and I are on the team together here. So we're going to have God get on one side, I'm going to get on the other side, we're going to move this thing. So there's a lot of responsibility involved there, but God's sharing the load, and so we're going to move it together. And that's one way to think about it. So the fourth way, which I think is the better way to think about it, is that, look, if you're the king in the story, you're going to give all of your strength, all of your effort, and God's going to move it through you. So God's moving the obstacle, but through human means, through us. We're going to, and when we do these things, we need to work in a way that goes along with His designs. Okay, and that's how we are seeing God at work in and through us, is when we function according to His directives and His purposes, right? So when you think about all people, now this is not just spiritual people, but anybody. If you look at the Bible for your worldview, how does it say that all people were made? Not just believers, but everyone. It's that God, you mentioned this in a pre-talk, that God made us all in His image, and then He's created all things in 6 days. And then what did He do on the seventh day?
He rested.
He rested. Okay, God rested as a pattern, right? And you can think, and you turn to the New Testament even, and in Luke 5, there's a story where Jesus is taking His disciples on a stroll on Saturday at the time, which is the Sabbath day, and they're walking through, they're picking grain, and then they heal somebody, and then people are freaking out because they're like, oh, you're breaking the Sabbath. And so, Jesus, he validates the Sabbath is an abiding principle, right? But he says there that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath, but it was for man. So mankind, everyone who is created, this is a gift for you for your good. And so what do we do with the Sabbath thing? So the Sabbath, we're made to function. God works through us, and we're able to do things when we are going according to His design, and then we're unable to do things when we function out of His design, which is one, hey, we're going to do it all our own. We're going to move this thing ourselves. We're just going to disregard everybody. Or two, we're just going to totally shirk responsibility and expect it to get done. And then our third is this other option where we're like kind of like halvesies here. But no. We're totally dependent on God, but we're totally enabled at the same time. We function according to His will. So we receive His revelation, and we act on it, and we do it, and God works in it. So that's what I think. So when you're thinking about how do you experience rest, would you say on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of in our culture, in your culture, how much do we value rest? 10 being the most, 1 being the least.
I don't know. I think people like to say they value rest very highly, but everyone is looking forward to sleeping at the end of the day. But the actual reality people live is they're not going to sleep until they can finish everything they can possibly do in the day. Everyone's trying to get through things. It's funny you mentioned like the Avengers and like superheroes over there, because I feel like we kind of idolize these people who
superhumans.
Yeah, they don't need rest. They can keep going and going, and like thinking about that's so far beyond the human. Like
we're made to rest.
Yeah, just any action movie, seeing all the stuff people do. No one can like get anywhere near that because you're exhausted.
Yeah, those
like,
are idols.
5 minutes into that.
Yeah, no, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. Yeah. So you think about that. Okay, do you ever run into somebody on campus? And here, you ask, how are you doing? What's going on? And he's like, and what do they typically say? I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Do you ever hear that?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm dying of sleep
I've got so much
deprivation.
going on. People like kind of, it's a badge of honor. I'm overworked.
Yeah.
I've got so much going on. It's like you ever read Harry Potter? It's like everyone wants to be Hermione. You want to have like 9 classes you're taking when everybody else is taking 5, and you want to have the job, and you want to have you want to be able to juggle everything. That's what you want to be. I haven't actually finished the story, so maybe you don't want to be Hermione, but I'm in book 3. So Hermione. So that a funny thing about the book is that she has classes scheduled on top of classes, and she can't be in the same place at the same time. And that's what we feel. We feel like we're these superheroes, and there's a lot of zeal there, but maybe it's just feeling like we have to measure up to some standard. Our world is an overworking world. Let me read you a quote from a Tim Keller article that I read, and it says here that anyone who overworks is really a slave. Okay? You think, hey, well, I'm doing everything I want to do. How can I be a slave? He says this: anyone who cannot rest from work is a slave to a need for a success, to a materialistic culture, to exploitive employers, to parental expectations, or to all the above. And it says here, these slave masters will abuse you if you're not disciplined in the practice of Sabbath rest. Sabbath is a declaration of freedom. Yeah, kind of. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So what the reason we got to diagnose, kind of look in our hearts and say, hey, why are we overworking? Is it parental expectations? We can't let dad down. We can't let mom down. Or is it the boss? The boss is just exploiting us. Is it the culture? Or is it some kind of drive that we get this fulfillment out of success? That's the ultimate thing. What is it that we got to look at our own hearts and figure out, why are we pushing ourselves to the max and not resting? And so if you can, comment comment below. Tell us what your struggle is. What are you dealing with? And let us know. I mean, I'm sure someone else out there has had the same one. So Conley, have you thought about that? What is it that makes you like overwork versus underwork?
So I guess I was going to actually comment on kind of that quote. It made me think. I have a lot of friends here at OU who are very involved. They have so many different things they are involved in, whether it's like leadership, like I'm involved with the Ultimate Frisbee team, whether it's leadership there or leadership in like honors college type stuff or tour guide. And
Camp Crimson.
I think there's in one of my classes this semester, actually, we were talking about happiness as like a concept, and we dissected into 3 different types, which is emotional, judgmental, and moral.
Okay.
And moral happiness isn't so much just the feeling of joy, but it's like the joy, the happiness you get from doing what is right or what is good. And I think a lot of people view that virtue, even those who would like say that claim to like be like in and believe in Christ, would claim like what is right and what is good to be that success or involvement. And I see them like in a way happy from it, but I don't know if they're fulfilled.
Well, there's a difference, Colin. I think the distinction here is happiness and joy. Okay, so the joy is unshakable no matter what the circumstances are. But happiness is circumstantial. It's, hey, I am doing well. I am making it. And you can see somebody on cloud 9 because they're juggling everything that they're dealing with. Now let me read this to you here. This is another quote from the same article by a woman named Judith Shulevitz, and she says this: "My mood would darken until by Saturday afternoon I'd be unresponsive and morose. My normal routine, which involved brunch with friends, swapping tales of misadventure, and the relentless quest for romance and professional success, made me feel impossibly restless. I started spending Saturdays by myself. After a while, I got lonely and did something that, as a teenager, profoundly put off by her religious education, I could never have imagined wanting to do. I began dropping in on a nearby synagogue." So she's restless. She starts to pursue religion back from her childhood, right? So it was only much later that I developed a theory about my condition. I was suffering from the lack of a Sabbath. There is ample evidence that our relationship to work is out of whack. Ours is a society that pegs status as overachievement. We can't help admiring workaholics. Let me argue instead on behalf of an institution that has kept workaholism in reasonable check for thousands of years. Most people mistakenly believe that all you have to do to stop working is not work. Okay, listen to this. The inventors of the Sabbath understood that it was much more complicated undertaking. You cannot downshift casually and easily. That is why the Puritan and Jewish Sabbaths were so exactingly intentional. The rules did not exist to torture the faithful. They were meant to communicate the insight that interrupting the ceaseless round of striving requires a surprisingly strenuous act of will, one that has to be bolstered by habit as well as by social sanction. So the idea that I need to unplug from the ceaseless activity requires arduous work and intentionality, right? You have to work to rest. You have to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
And I do feel like this is not a new habit, a new thing that we're dealing with. As you know, many people can testify to this. Now, I do want to talk about some of the unique challenges that we face, but the idea of working and resting and the need for that, we've talked about as a universal need, okay, that we all have.
Yeah.
Now, thinking through that idea is that we do need a Sabbath. We're talking about rest. We're talking about how to have health physically, mentally, relationally, and spiritually.
Yeah.
You can't burn it at both ends. You have to rest.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when you're thinking about physical rest, you got to sleep. You got to unplug. We talked about that. Hey, how do you get unplugged? Well, I feel like in the olden days, you would leave your work at home and you would go home. You know, but I don't think you can leave your work at home anymore.
Yeah.
You got the phone. You got
There's
the laptop.
everything that you can get reached no matter where you are.
You never can unplug, right? There's a huge thing that, and a lot of our jobs, look, we're not hauling wheelbarrows around and bringing the cotton and the grain in, you know, and milking the cows in the morning. You know, we're sitting at desks and we're driving in cars, and so we're not as physically exhausted, you know, with our bodies, to where we can stay up late. You know, we can binge on Netflix because that makes us feel good, and we can, you know, just stay up. You know, and so there's a. And we have, when today, unlike, you know, the 1800s perhaps, we have, you know, electricity. You know, like we can keep the lights on. You know? We can stay up all night long with our lights on and our heating and cooling, and so and our connections. So the physical rest is a struggle. A lot of us, you know, we're so connected all day. We're getting such, you know, bombarded by things that our minds won't stop racing. Yeah. A lot of us need help to go sleep. You know, so you know, what's your do you have a regular kind of bedtime or best practices you like to?
I'm not the best at having a regular bedtime.
Everyone's like that. Yeah.
My principle is ideally my classes each day start at either 9:30 or 10:30, so I want to wake up around 8:30.
Wait, you go to class? A lot of people don't go to class. I just read.
I try to go to class.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah.
So I try to wake up at 8:30, but so sometimes I miss classes. Sometimes I'm very bad about hitting that bedtime. I try to go to bed around 12:30, but often fail.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny you should mention like the way. Like there's always that connection, and it like affects us physically, because I think kind of even the stress and anxiety from always being connected.
A lot of people sleep with their phones.
Yeah, it's something that's the big thing I wish I could unplug for, because there's the mental and spiritual part, but there's also that physical part where I think it does like physically weigh on you, because there's the stress and anxiety from the phone, the connection, the work is always that close.
And in college, you can always do more. You could always do more. There's always something else to read, more studying you could do. Yeah. Right? You could always do so you have to unplug at some point and say, we're done. So a lot of good recommendations are start your work day at 8 and end at 5. You know, work that whole time, you know, on your classwork, schedule it out to where you've got that 8 to 5, and then you can have a healthy balance of going to sleep at a reasonable hour, because you've already done all your work. You know, and you can unplug. And so one thing you might try, you know, thinking about is getting up at 8 or getting going at 8, getting done at 5, and then going to hit the gym. And then before you go to bed, you have a good dinner, and you have a couple hours to debrief and relax, and then you get to bed at a reasonable hour and do it all again the next day. And that's glorious. That's how you feel good, versus waking up early and then staying up all night. And then you got to recover. You're always in this deficit, you know. And you can't train all the time. This is the physical, you know, deal here. Is you just gotta rest. Now, I'm doing legs 3 days a week now. I started doing legs 3 days a week. So what I'm doing is Monday leg day, Wednesday leg day, Friday leg day, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So and on those off days when I'm not training legs, you know what I can do? I can either do nothing
Or upper body.
bingo, upper body. Muscles I haven't destroyed the day before.
Yeah.
Because they need about, 24 to 48 hours to recover, sometimes even 72 hours to really recover. And in that recovery period, that's where the growth happens. If you're overtraining, you can't have the growth. You can't gain strength, you can't gain the muscle mass you want because you're just going to not see results because your body is designed to Sabbath, so to speak. It's designed, it repairs and recovers and grows when you're not training, actually. That's something I never knew until I started studying this stuff. Like, your body can transform, but it needs rest to do that.
Yeah.
Right? That's huge. So physically, you gotta have rest. Now, what's fascinating, Colin, I showed you this article earlier. J.C. Ryle, writing in 1890 England, he hit on, in an article on the Sabbath that he wrote, he hit on all the 4 categories that we talk about on Fully Alive. He was Fully Alive before Fully Alive was cool.
Yeah.
Not to say it's cool now yet, but we're hoping to get it there. So listen to this. He has 4 categories of the purpose of the Sabbath. Now the Sabbath, if those of you who don't know, you work 6 days and you rest the 7th day from your work and you make that a holy day, not a holiday, but a holy day, a day focusing on God and blessing Him and working to enjoy Him on that day. So a day of worship where you don't work. Okay, so listen to the purpose of the Sabbath. He says, number 1, the Sabbath is good for man's body. There's our physical component right here. Let me see what he says. It says we all need a day of rest. On this point, at any rate, all medical men or doctors are agreed. He says, 3 out of 4 dentists agree. So all medical men agree. Curiously and wonderfully made as the human frame is, it will not stand incessant work without regular intervals of repose or rest. It says, this is a great historical analogy here. The first gold diggers of California soon found out that, reckless and ungodly as many of them probably were, urged on as they were, no doubt, by the mighty influence of the hope of gain, they still found out that a 7th day's rest was absolutely needful to keep themselves alive. Without the rest, they discovered that in digging for gold, they were only digging their own graves. I firmly believe that one reason why the health of working clergymen so frequently fails, ministers that is, their health fails, is the great difficulty they find in getting a day of rest. Because our work day is Sunday, right? I am sure if the body could tell us its wants, it would cry loudly, remember the Sabbath day. So that's what our body would tell us. Okay, remember the Sabbath day, remember the rest. Our bodies need rest. And I love the gold diggers illustration. I'm not saying she's a gold digger. Okay, Kanye West, this is not has anything to do with that, but it says this. It says they found that they were digging, not just digging for gold, they were digging their own graves when they did not rest. Do you feel like that is today exactly? We're not digging for gold literally, but we're trying to get to that next level, trying to get the degree, the career, get where we want to be in the career, to where we're just overdoing it. Maybe it's a training game. We're burning ourselves out. You agreed on that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's contemporarily relevant. That was written in 1890.
Yeah, it's like we're always striving for like where we want to be, and then I guess at that point it's like then I can die and be happy.
Yeah, right. But you lose everything. You're digging your grave. No one wants to die, but to overwork is to dig your own grave. You're going to have dysfunction. Things aren't going to work right. You're going to start eating worse. You're going to start relating worse to people. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so body, you got to have rest. Okay, body, it's crying out. Remember the Sabbath day. Okay, so listen to J.C. Ryle. Okay, so the first thing is physical rest is needed. But what about mental rest? We're not just bodies, we got minds. Okay, so check this out. Second point here. And J.C. Ryle nails it again. Listen to this. The Sabbath is good for man's mind. It says this, the mind needs rest quite as much as the body. It cannot bear an uninterrupted strain on its powers. It must have its intervals to unbend and recover its force. Without them, it will either prematurely wear out or fail suddenly like a broken bow. Do you feel like that's a common thing? It's
Yeah.
like we're overworking our minds, and so we got dysfunctional minds.
Yeah.
Disorder comes. Disordered thinking,
Yeah.
mental illness. These kind of things come. It says here, William Wilberforce, the famous philanthropist, it says this. He declared that he could only attribute his own power of endurance to his regular observance of the Sabbath day. He remembered that he had observed some of the mightiest intellects among his contemporaries fail suddenly at last, and their possessors come to sad endings. And he was satisfied that in every such case of mental shipwreck, the true cause was neglect of the fourth commandment. That's an interesting theory. You can't prove it, but that's his. In living amongst the most brightest people in England, he sees them burn out ahead of him, and he's like, well, they could have had what I had if they would have rested 1 out of 7. So that's what you agree on the mind stuff. We need rest. How do you get that today with all the constant connection?
I think I often don't that much. Because I can like you said, hearing the body say, remember the Sabbath day, I can hear my mind kind of saying, you need to unplug, you need to get out.
Yeah. And how do you know that?
It's just, I think it's very natural. I think God has just instilled it naturally in the human body and in the human mind to remind us that we are weak and we need time to recover, time to.
You check your performance.
Yeah.
Like I'm not performing well.
Yeah.
I can't keep reading. I can't keep thinking. I mean, I need to shut down.
I like the line about or fail, like it will your mind will prematurely wear out, or fail suddenly like a broken bow. Because I remember
like a broken bow.
2 summers ago I was working as an intern in a student ministry, and I had been kind of like burning the candles at both ends for a while, and we were at our summer camp in the middle of the summer, and we had actually been like, me and the other interns had some time to rest, had some time to like just our student minister was like, go out, get some dinner, just have some time to rest. But I was still kind of on then, and then some like kind of shocking news, just a few things I didn't expect that we like our conversation in that moment like put me kind of over the edge, and I had a panic attack.
Yes.
And I'd never experienced that before or since. Luckily,
heart racing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it was just, it was very literally, my mind failed suddenly, and I just snapped.
Like a broken bow. You pull it back, and then all of a sudden, it was too much. Snaps.
It was
the
just
tension.
enough to put me over.
The tension, guys, the over tension will snap you, and you don't know it's coming. You can't control it. We think we're in control. We're not.
Yeah.
We're not sovereign.
Yeah.
We are made to rest. We can't push it that hard. We got, and we're going to get better results if we do rest. Our minds are going to be a refresher. I went to bed last week 9 p.m. and woke up at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. I was ready to roll. And so it's like if I can get time like that, if I can get that much sleep, I'm ready to rock.
That's good.
So all right. So minds, you got to have a mind rest. Okay. We'll talk about some ideas for that in a minute. Okay. Next, let's talk about relational health. Okay. So if everybody's tired all the time, how good is our community going to be? It's going to stink. Listen to this. Now, J.C. Ryle puts his hand on it again. Third point, he says, the Sabbath is good for nations. Listen to what it says. It has an enormous effect both on the character and temporal prosperity of a people. I firmly believe that a people which regularly rest 1 day in 7 will do more work and better work in a year than a people which never rest at all. Their hands will be stronger, their minds will be clearer, their power, retention, application, and steady perseverance will be far greater. Think about that on the road. If you got people that are tired on the road, they're going to cause a lot of wrecks. That's going to cause slowdowns. That's going to cause everything to be a little bit less efficient. If we're well rested, we're going to be more alert. We're going to be thinking better and physically better, so that we're able to do more. Do our jobs.
This kind of made me think. Americans take a lot less vacation than people from most parts of the world, but especially like I'm thinking like Europeans take a lot more vacation.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would say probably from like the information I can think of, like I know like it's either Norway or Sweden are like the happiest people in the world.
Yeah.
And they spend a lot less time working and a lot There's
Oh,
a lot more
yeah.
focus on, oh yeah, I got to take that vacation, got to have some rest. It's just
You hear over and over, hey, I'm not going to regret working at the end of my life. You know, it's like, I wish I would have worked one more hour. You know, like, unplug and go take a break.
Yeah.
You know, like you're going to get it. It's going to happen. You know, and we're not sufficient to do all things. We got to play our part, stay in our lane, and do our job. Use our talents that God's given us the best we can. With the best stewardship. And burning it at both ends is not the best stewardship because our productivity is going to go down.
Yeah.
And we're going to sin against other people because we'll be agitated. You know, there's a profound connection between the way we treat our spouse, roommate, whoever it is, friend, and our enemy who you know cuts us off in traffic. You know, how much grace are we going to give them if we are out of our minds because we are overworked? So there's a huge point relationally of how our community is going to be healthier if we would all take a Sabbath.
Yeah.
You know,
Healthy community,
Healthy
healthy
community.
people.
Yeah. So it all goes together. You can't, and if you will take that Sabbath, if you will commit to resting, you're going to take somebody along with you. You know, they're going to follow you. That's going to be so weird. You're going to be so different. Somebody's going to want what you have. I'm telling you, it happens all the time. Spiritually, physically, relationally, things are going to grow because of your commitment to rest. This is it. Okay, rest is one of the most important hacks for getting fully alive. So, all right. So this rest episode's gone quite long, Colin, which is very ironic. We need to take a break here and only say what we need to have an economy of words, right? Hey, but hopefully we'll wear you out so you can get some good sleep tonight. Hopefully. Thinking through these things and trying to apply them. Okay, so number 4, finally, last but not least, the Sabbath is an unmixed good for man's soul. Now listen to what he says here. The soul has its wants just as much as the mind and body. It is in the midst of a hurrying, bustling world. This is 1890, remember, hurrying, bustling world in which its interests are constantly in danger of being jostled out of sight. We feel soulless. We don't even think we're soulless. We think body, mind, relationships. It's out of our sight, out of mind. You want to kill religion? Kill the Sabbath. Because we don't have to think about our spirits. We can act as if God doesn't exist and we don't need him. Okay, listen to this. To have those interests properly attended to, there must be a special day set apart. There must be a regularly recurring time for examining the state of our souls. There must be a day to test and prove us, whether we are prepared for an eternal heaven. Take away a man's Sabbath and his religion soon comes to nothing. As a general rule, there is a regular rite of steps down from no Sabbath to no God. Many, you know, like that's profound. Like, who in church leadership today is really pounding the Sabbath drum, right? Like, if we really want to have healthy churches and believers and communities, we need to do Sabbath. I don't see that. I think that's something we've got to look back into the past and say, wait, he was dealing with all the same stuff we're dealing with, and he had a totally different solution than we think of, right? We think, I just got to come up with the next solution. I got to work harder. I got to figure it out. I got to solve it. No. What we need is to connect with God and understand who we are in light of him and what he's done for us. So thinking through that particular issue, have you ever tried to keep the Sabbath day holy? You tried this?
I mean, at different times I've tried it and usually not too successful.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It's difficult. It takes work. Now listen to this. I think in that's a gift to us because when we realize, hey, I'd rather be doing something else. I'm not. When I realize how ungrateful I am and how difficult this is for me, that's actually a gift in and of itself. To ask God to change me, to ask God to give me delight for him. Because I can't work that up out of my own heart. I have to actually try and fail in order to grow.
Yeah.
You're not going to be good at it the first time you do anything. You know, it's like any exercise. It's anything in life.
Yeah.
The first thing is always terrible, usually. You know, the first podcast, hopefully 15 episodes in, we're getting a little bit better at the podcast. We want incremental improvement every time. So just thinking about it, you grow over time. So the best way to get good at rest is to actually rest. The best way to get good at Sabbath is Sabbath. Yeah. You know, so trying and going at it. So you got any tips on what to do or how to do it, or anything else you want to chat about or questions you got?
I mean, I don't think I'm the expert on finding that rest, but
well, I'll ask you this: are you convinced you need to?
I'm very convinced I need to
Okay.
because I know I think even not taking a full Sabbath day, but even not having those little moments of rest. Like I've been very stressed the past week or so with
Finals.
Yeah, there's lots of prep for finals, lots of work to get done,
Yeah.
and I've just been going and or procrastinating.
Yeah.
But I've not given myself that time I usually try to have to either read the Bible, to pray, and I've definitely, it's like that faith muscle has gotten a little weaker.
You got to work it. Yeah. Tell you what. Let me. There's nothing better than, hey, I am weary, I'm burdened, and I'm realizing I can't do it. Now listen to what Jesus says. This is profoundly Jesus right here. There is no other religion or worldview that will tell you this. Listen to this, Conley. Everybody listen. Matthew 11. Come to me, Jesus says, all you who are weary and burdened. Raise your hand if you're weary and burdened. Okay, we're all weary and burdened. Listen to this. And it says, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. That's Matthew 11:28-29. This is the rest that we're looking for that the world can't give us. Like it's the workaholicism, trying to get into the right career, the right college, the right relationship, the whatever it is, fill in the blank. Getting the approval of the parents or the boss. The rest is not going to be there. That, as we said earlier in Tim Keller's article, is slavery. We've got to get out of the slavery, and we got to unplug from that, and that's coming to Jesus for our true rest. You can only be what you're made to be by figuring out, hey, I'm messing it up, and going to Jesus and realizing the way out is not working harder, but confessing to Him and asking for help. And He will come to you. He's gentle, as He says, humble, and that's where our souls will finally find rest. There's no other gospel than that. There's no other way. So in thinking about it, let me give you just a few practical tips. I think this is out of the Tim Keller article as well. It says this. It says, take some time for some inactivity. Just don't do anything. Take some time. And the most awkward time of our service every week, besides awkward applications in the sermon, is probably the silence that we have. We have this time to silently pray, and that's hard for us. Silence is hard. Inactivity is hard. Spend some time. Maybe it's 5 minutes a day. Nothing but silence. And then unplugging, taking an hour to just do nothing, or not having anything scheduled. And then 2, there's 5 points here. One was inactivity. 2, take some time for avocational activity. Now this is something that's pure pleasure. Something you just love to do. Go climb something. Go out and ride your bike. Something that you just like. Going out and visit. Maybe that's for some people. That's going out and spend time with people. It's think about and that's the 3rd point. Think about if you're an extrovert or an introvert. What's going to really recharge your batteries? Is it getting alone, or is it being with people and understanding yourself? And that's going to help you to really rest well. Some things during Sabbaths could be too draining. So figuring out what's going to work for you, what avocational activities are right. And then 4th, don't necessarily count family time as Sabbath time. Family can be pretty stressful. I know as a parent, that can be hard. And so, you're going to have to, enjoy the kids, but then also spend some time away. Take some time for yourself too, to rest and recharge. Okay, but don't miss out on the kids. Okay, they're very important. They're going to grow up fast. But man, take some time too to recharge. And then finally, Keller says here, honor both micro and macro rhythms in your seasons of rest. Now, what do you think he means there? So thinking through, a new physician has to work long hours in the residency. I mean, they kill those guys, okay? But later on, they're going to be able to move on a different stage of life, So sometimes your stage of life is going to be really hard, and so find some micro rest in the hard times, and then think about different Sabbaths as you're going through different seasons. Okay, so the fact of the matter though is we can't keep that kind of season our whole lives where we're really neglecting rest all the time. So okay, so we're going to have to think about these things a little more in depth. If you've got questions, comments, ideas about how to rest in an overworked culture, physical questions, mental questions, what helps you to take a mental break, and then relational questions, what helps you to relate better to your others. If you got questions or comments, leave those below. Spiritual rest, you start with just getting alone, reading the Bible, praying, and then ultimately corporate worship on Sundays. These are God's given us tools that are there for us, so we don't have to overthink it, and that's awesome. So okay, so any other words of wisdom for those out there listening?
Yeah, I think just make sure, just rest, just.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
We're recovering workaholics here. My boss, first boss I had in jobs, he was like, "Hey, you're a borderline workaholic," and I kind of took that as a compliment. So like, "Oh, you're noticing I'm working hard." That's what we want to be noticed, which is just terrible. I could go on and on here. We have a problem, and we have to notice that we have a problem, and we have to recover. Yeah. And the physical training will help you too. If you got questions on physical training, let us know. We'd love to interact on those issues. And if you want to make your workouts more time efficient, we had a time episode, Don't Waste My Time, a few episodes ago. So go download and listen to that one about how to maximize your time in the gym. So we got a whole canon of stuff we're getting out there because we want to be fully alive people who live in a fully alive community and can become a real blessing in a culture here that's going to lead the full life. Okay, so Colin, we do this every week. We, after I tell you to comment, like, subscribe, share these things, we always do our tagline, right? You know our tagline?
Not by heart.
Okay, all right. Well, it's
right.
we're made to live fully alive, built to worship the living one. Okay, you got it?
Made to live fully alive,
built to worship
the living one.
That's right? So made to live fully alive, built to worship the living one. We'll see you guys next week. Go get some rest.